Guys, the game is over, and it's time for us to talk about this draw between Everton and West Ham 1, all at Goodison Park. It was the first match under the new manager, and well, you could already sense a different atmosphere in the team, even with just a few training sessions so far. It was a balanced match with ups and downs, but one that leaves some encouraging signs for the future. There were changes in the starting 11, with new faces gaining space in midfield, while others were left out not even making the bench. That alone sparked discussion among the fans. But the big question was, how would the team behave on the pitch after a turbulent week and only 2 days of work with the new coach? And the answer came straight away. The team even started reasonably organized, but as has happened so many times this season, a defensive lapse proved costly. Everton's goal came from a set piece, something that had been a recurring issue. The defense did clear the first cross, but switched off immediately afterwards. That sense of, we defended it all good, when in reality it wasn't. Another cross-slack marking space left open and goal. 1-0 Everton. At that moment, I must admit the concern kicked in. How many times have we seen the team concede first and simply collapse afterwards? That old movie of heads-down lack of focus and goals conceded in a row almost repeated itself. But to the surprise of many, the reaction this time was different. The team kept its composure, stayed in the match, and at least showed the determination to chase the equalizer. That alone was already a difference compared to what we've seen in other rounds. In the first half, even trailing, it wasn't a disaster. We had some interesting glimpses, a few long ball moves, looking for runs in behind, good bursts down the wing, even if the final pass often lacked quality. It was enough to keep the team alive in the game, until halftime. It's true that some key players were way off their game, misplacing simple passes, wasting easy balls. But still, the feeling was that the opponent didn't have complete control. It was an open game. One of the negative highlights of the first half was the number of silly mistakes. Some players did well in aerial duels, but on the ground, they gave away easy balls and handed out counterattacks. There was also that natural nervousness from those making their first start. That can be excused a bit, especially with younger players, but it was clear that confidence and chemistry were still lacking. Another concern came with an early yellow card for the fullback. 3 fouls in a row, tight marking even over the top, and the referee didn't let it slide. Playing the rest of the match with him walking a tightrope was a reason for apprehension, especially since he was facing a fast, skillful opponent. The risk of a sending off was real, and could have made things worse. But to be fair, in the second half he recovered, played smartly, and managed to hold down his side well. Back to the first half, conceding that goal served as a personality test for the group. Many fans were watching to see if the behavior would be the same as in other matches of total discouragement, or if there would be a response. And this time there was a response. It wasn't brilliant, but it wasn't that irritating apathy either. The team fought, stayed competitive, and went into the break, still believing they could get something. And the equalizer came. A move built down the left, a deflected cross, and the ball fell for a shot that took another deflection off the defense. Doesn't matter, ball in the net, it counts. The important thing was the reaction, and it happened. That goal changed the team's mood, and also the fans. It felt like finally there was some kind of identity on the pitch, something that resembled the new manager's style, even if only in embryonic form. After that, some players grew a lot in the match. The left back, for example, became a powerful attacking weapon. Every time he got the ball and surged forward, it felt like a real threat. Even as a defender, he looked more dangerous than some forwards. And his partnership with the winger on the same side worked really well, especially in the second half. The two understood each other. Alternating moves, sometimes one would overlap, sometimes the other would hold back to create space. It was a highlight of West Ham's performance. Of course, there were still errors, rushed passes, and questionable decisions. But the difference was that the team didn't stop trying. They kept pushing, kept attacking even without much inspiration. That persistence ended up being rewarded with the draw, and in the end, the feeling was one of fairness. Neither side really deserved more than that. Before we move on, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support keeps the Claret and Blue family united and helps make West Ham stronger every single day. The second half brought a more interesting picture. West Ham came back from the break with a different attitude, more focused and with greater courage to chase the equalizer. And you could clearly feel that the team was more switched on in every play. The new manager, even with just a few days of work, managed to lift the spirit of the side. That sense of apathy that had been taking over in recent weeks gave way to something different, a team willing to fight until the end. The real highlight was the left side. The fullback and the winger understood each other impressively. They alternated their movements well, one opening space for the other, and that confused Everton's defense. That was where the most dangerous plays came from. The fullback looked tireless, running up and down the pitch, defending firmly and attacking with pace. The winger, with short dribbles and direct runs, troubled his marker every time. Even when they didn't create clear chances, they made the opposition feel uneasy. And it was precisely from that side that the equalizer was born. A quick move, cross-deflection, and the ball fell for a finish that deflected off the centre-back and wrong-footed the goalkeeper. Ball in the net all square. This moment was crucial, because it showed that the team had the strength to react. And let's be honest, a goal is a goal. It doesn't matter if it's clean pretty or deflected. The important thing is the ball hits the net. And the equalizer gave the team new energy. After the goal, some players really raised their game. The left back practically turned into an extra winger. He was constantly appearing in attack, offering passing options and delivering dangerous crosses. Even when they weren't perfect, he was still creating threat. The truth is, he became one of the main attacking weapons of the team. And that's curious because fullbacks don't always get that spotlight. But in this match he shone. The goalkeeper also deserves special mention. Although he wasn't heavily tested when he was called upon, he looked solid. On set pieces which had been a torment, he showed authority, coming out well and clearing the danger. That gave confidence to the defense and helped curb Everton's momentum at times. There was even one risky ball-playing moment that nearly backfired, but apart from that, he had a steady performance. Another positive point was the improvement in defending set pieces. After conceding the goal, it seemed like the team finally learned the lesson. Every cross was contested more attentively with no room for lapses. That initial mistake wasn't repeated. It shows that even within the match itself, adjustments were made. Something that didn't happen before when the team would keep making the same errors until the end. Of course, not everything was perfect. Some players underperformed. The center forward, for example, could barely produce anything. He looked out of rhythm, squandering the few chances he got. Other key names also disappointed, failing to make the expected impact. And this shows there's still plenty of work to be done. The manager will need to restore these players' confidence, because they are fundamental pieces for the team. But the difference this time was that even with some below par, others raised their level and compensated. The collective spirit prevailed. When one made a mistake, another was there to correct it. When one couldn't create, his partner kept the move alive. This type of attitude is what keeps the team alive in a tough away match. Now, talking about the opponent, Everton also had their moments. They created some chances, had spells of possession, but were never clearly superior. The draw reflects the balance of the match. Neither side deserved to take the win. It was one of those games where the defenses prevailed more than the attacks. Truly dangerous chances were rare. One detail that stood out was the lack of pressure from West Ham players on the referee in a controversial incident. There was a clear red card situation and arm strike after the play, but the referee only showed a yellow. Normally in other teams, players surround the referee pressure, him demand the sending off. But West Ham simply accepted the decision, barely protesting. They lacked the cunning there, the insistence, because playing the final minutes with an extra man could have changed the story of the game. That's an attitude that also needs to change. In terms of substitutions, it was clear that chemistry between the manager and squad is still lacking. Some changes were correct, but others felt more conservative, as if the aim was just to secure the away point. Perhaps with more time, the manager will dare more risk an attacker late on and go for the win. But given the circumstances, the choice to hold the result was understandable. One step at a time. Overall, the feeling is that the draw tasted positive. It wasn't a great spectacle, it wasn't full of chances, but it showed improvement in areas that had been problematic. The team didn't fold after going behind, didn't collapse on set pieces, and still found the strength to react. That alone is reason for some optimism. Coming into the final stretch of the analysis, it's time to look at the bigger picture. This 1-1 draw doesn't change the table dramatically, but it does change the atmosphere a lot. It was the first game under the new manager, and although it's too early to talk about transformations, you could already feel differences. The team showed more fighting spirit, more organization at certain moments, and above all, did not collapse mentally after conceding the first goal. That alone is a huge step compared to what we had been watching. Individually, some names deserve highlighting. The left back was, without doubt, one of the best on the pitch. Tireless, dangerous in attack, solid in defense, and with an impressive reading of the game for someone so young. Alongside the winger on the same flank, he formed a duo that unsettled the game, constantly troubling Everton's defense. If they maintain that partnership, they could become one of the team's main attacking weapons. The goalkeeper also deserves recognition. Even with few moments of real danger, he showed composure and personality. On aerial balls, which had been the team's Achilles heel, he came out decisively, inspired confidence, and helped calm the defense. It's the type of performance that doesn't always make the highlights, but makes a huge difference on the pitch. On the other hand, some players fell short. The center forward was anonymous, failing to provide a consistent option up front. Key creative players also underperformed, not delivering what is expected of them. This needs to improve quickly, because it won't always be the fullbacks carrying so much of the attacking weight. The team needs its stars to show up again. The midfield also fluctuated a lot. Some misplaced passes in dangerous areas nearly caused trouble. There was a lack of care in keeping possession and poor judgment in knowing when to speed up. Yet there were still flashes of quality, especially when the ball went through the more confident youngsters. This is the balance the manager will need to work on, cutting out the silly mistakes and bringing out the talent that is already there. As for refereeing, it can't be ignored. The reckless challenge that should have resulted in a red card was poorly judged. The referee chose leniency, and VAR simply ignored it. A clear sending-off situation that could have changed the game. There was also a lack of firmness from West Ham's players in protesting the decision. In Premier League matches, small details weigh heavily, and this passivity can be costly. They must learn to be more intense, even when the ball isn't rolling. In terms of substitutions, the manager's caution was evident. There was no boldness to chase the win late on, even when there was space to risk it. This is understandable given the short time working with the squad. There was a lack of deeper knowledge of the group, a lack of chemistry, and above all, a lack of confidence to make bolder changes. But with a few weeks of training, the expectation is that this will change. For now, the away point is seen as positive. Looking ahead, the challenge is a tough one. Facing Arsenal away right at the start is practically a baptism of fire. There isn't a more difficult game at the moment. It might be too early to expect a win in such a hostile scenario, but what matters is seeing continuity of progress. If the team repeats this attitude, shows the same organization, and doesn't shrink, that alone will be a sign that change is happening. After that heavy clash, matches against direct rivals for mid-table positions will come, such as Brentford, Newcastle, Leeds, and Burnley. Those will indeed be crucial duels to pick up points and build confidence. It's in those games that the difference of the new leadership could be clearer. If West Ham can compete well against Arsenal, even without a win, and then pick up form against those direct rivals, the outlook for the rest of the season could improve considerably. In summary, this 1-1 draw had the taste of a moral victory. It showed that the team is still alive, that it can reorganize itself, and that the work of the new manager is already starting to show. There is much to fix, yes, but there are also positive signs to cling to. The team fought again, believed again, and made it clear they won't give in easily. For those coming off so many disappointments, that's already good news, and it's in that spirit we move forward. The point taken at Goodison Park may not shine on the table, but it could be the starting point for a new phase. The road is long, the challenges are huge, but the feeling is that, finally, a path is being drawn. And the fans, who had been discouraged, can once again dream of better days.
So that's all for today, folks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, share, and of course subscribe to the channel for more. Take care, and I'll see you next time.